Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom.
In our top story, Israel has finally taken steps to undo the unjust expulsion of Jews from their homes during the disengagement. Several key members of the opposition joined the coalition and voted to overturn the 2005 legislation, which enforced the Israeli evacuation from the Gaza Strip and 4 communities in Samaria. This desperate attempt to make peace with the Arabs saw the forceful eviction of numerous Jewish communities in Gush Katif and became one of the worst disasters in Israeli history. Hamas took control of Gaza and advanced on the abandoned Israeli positions, gaining a closer vantage point to fire rockets deeper into the Jewish state. The towns in Samaria remained empty, but faithful Jews have fought for nearly 18 years to return and rebuild the communities of Chomesh, Kadim, Ganim, and Sanur. Member of Knesset Yuli Edelstein, who sponsored the bill, praised its passing, saying this is the first step toward real healing and settlement in Israel's rightful homeland.
An Arab terrorist targeted a Jewish family as they were traveling in Samaria. Former U.S. Marine David Stern was driving with his family near the Arab village of Huwara, where 2 Jewish brothers were murdered just a few weeks ago. The terrorist identified the Israeli vehicle and opened fire on the car. Despite sustaining several serious gunshot wounds, Stern was able to save his family by maintaining control of his vehicle, while at the same time returning fire and wounding the terrorist. Stern applied a tourniquet to himself to stop an arterial bleed. He was then rushed to the hospital in serious condition. His family is asking for prayers for his complete recovery.
Israel is preparing for 3 major holidays to coincide in Jerusalem. The month-long Muslim holiday of Ramadan began last Wednesday. It is observed by fasting during daylight hours and large celebrations every night. Ramadan is a notoriously tense time in Israel, marked with an increase in terror incitement resulting in Arab violence against Jews and rioting on the Temple Mount. The Israeli police are working to safeguard Jews and Christians ahead of Passover and Easter, which both fall during Ramadan. Jews are commanded to come up to Jerusalem on Passover, and many have announced their intentions to ascend the Temple Mount. Christians will begin to walk the streets of the Old City in droves starting on Palm Sunday. The Christian celebration of Holy Week will continue until Easter, and the Israeli police are working overtime to ensure the safety of everyone celebrating and to protect the public's freedom to practice their religion in the holy city of Jerusalem.
Israel's Leviathan natural gas field is set to expand its production and is planning a new subsea pipeline. The Leviathan Group, which controls the rig located in the Mediterranean Sea off the coastal city of Haifa, announced plans to expand production and exports by 2025. They believe the value of the reservoir should be raised to $12.5 billion. NewMed Energy is reportedly investing an additional $562 million in the construction of a third pipeline to transport the gas from the wells to the platform. This will increase the supply capacity by an additional 14 billion cubic meters. Leviathan is one of the world's largest deep-water gas reservoirs. It is believed to hold 22 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Last year, 11.4 billion cubic meters of gas produced at the site was sold for $2.5 billion.
The majority of Democrats in America now sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. The Biden administration has allowed billions of taxpayer dollars to fund pro-Palestinian causes, allowing a pro-Islamic agenda to infiltrate the country. The Democratic Party has made a startling shift away from Israel and is now aligning itself with the Palestinians. According to a recent Gallup poll, more than 49% of Democrats sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. Republicans and independent voters remain staunchly supportive of the Jewish state. The poll reflects that 78% of Republican voters and 49% of independents sympathize with Israel over the Palestinians. Thanks to these groups, a majority of 54% of Americans sympathize with Israel.
A senior member of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad terror group was gunned down near Damascus, Syria. Arab groups claim that the death of the high-level engineer was an assassination by the agents of the Zionist enemy. Israel neither confirmed nor denied involvement in the incident, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did say that IDF forces are working around the clock to deal with and to thwart terror infrastructure. He added that all those who try to harm the citizens of Israel will pay with their lives.
Hundreds of Greek citizens marched to the old railway station in Thessaloniki, where the first deportation of Jews took place 80 years ago. The Jews of Greece were an affluent and ancient community. Before World War II, there were about 77,000 Jews living throughout Greece. 86% of that population was murdered by the Nazis. In Thessaloniki, 46,000 Jews were sent to Auschwitz. Only 1,950 returned.
Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has debunked the myth of the Palestinian people and called the Arabs out for attempting to rewrite the historical narrative. Smotrich was attending a memorial service in Paris where he addressed the issue of the invention of the Palestinian people, which he said is a recent phenomenon. The Bible refers to the Philistines as an ancient seagoing people who often fought wars with the tribes of Israel. The Arabs only recently adopted the name Palestinians in an attempt to show a historical connection to the land of Israel. Early Jewish settlers were called Palestinians until the Arabs adopted the term, and as a matter of fact, the Jerusalem Post newspaper was originally called the Palestine Post. Despite having no claim to this title, the Arabs have used it to gain international credibility. But Bezalel Smotrich says his family members are the original Palestinians. His grandmother was born in Metula 100 years ago, and his grandfather is a 13th-generation Jerusalemite.
A group of members of the Israeli Knesset recently paid a special visit to Joseph's tomb. The biblical patriarch was buried in the city of Shechem, which is now the Arab stronghold of Nablus. Joseph's burial chamber has been looted and burned on numerous occasions, and Jews must arrange a protective security detail before going to pray there. Recently, 2 members of the Knesset visited the site, giving renewed hope to the faithful Jews working to preserve the holy place. MK Amichai Eliyahu said, "Joseph's tomb is one of the most important Jewish heritage sites, and coming here connects us with our nation's deep roots."
So far this year, more than 11,500 Jews have left the former Soviet Union and come to Israel. The Jewish Agency reported that in January and February, 92% of the new immigrants to the Jewish state were from the FSU. More than 10,000 of the new Israeli citizens came from Russia, 583 from Ukraine, and 388 from Belarus. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was a clear catalyst for the exodus of Jews from these countries into Israel, and the Russian-speaking population has become the most substantial immigrant group this year. Karen Hayesod is working hard to raise the additional funds to cover the influx of new immigrants to the Jewish state.
Israel has been ranked the 4th happiest country in the world. The UN-sponsored World Happiness Report shows that Israelis are the happiest they've been in over a decade. The Jewish state jumped 5 places from 9th place last year to 4th place in 2023. Topping the list is Finland, followed by Denmark, Iceland, and then Israel. The United States ranked 15th place, France 21st, and the Palestinian Authority ranked 99th, just above Lebanon and Afghanistan.
Jerusalem has been named by Time magazine as one of the world's greatest places to visit. The magazine published its 3rd annual list of 50 extraordinary destinations to explore and named the Israeli capital as one of the must-see places. The article specifically mentions the Holy City's newly inaugurated 42-kilometer bike path, and the Tower of David also mentioned as things to do in Jerusalem.
Archaeologists with the Israel Antiquities Authority have been working to expose an ancient Christian mosaic in central Israel. This intricate tile floor was part of a Roman-era church located along Israel's National Trail. The colorful floral mosaic was likely inspired by anemone flowers that bloom in that area. The residents of the town of Shoham have been working with the Israel Antiquities Authority to clear the area to make it an exciting stop along the famous hiking trail. That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein and we're here in our beautiful studio in Jerusalem. My guest today is member of Knesset Moshe Turpaz. Moshe, thank you for being on the show.
It's my honor, Josh. Thank you very much for having me.
Moshe, right now in the Knesset there's a lot going on. Tell us a little about the tensions between the coalition and the opposition. What's happening?
Well, I think now, 75 years after Israel has started, these are very delicate times, and more than ever we need to be together, to work together. There's a lot of debates in Israel, but I really think we can overcome them.
You're a very unique person in the Knesset because you're actually a practicing Jew, you're a religious Jew, but you sit in a secular party, the Yesh Atid party. Why did you choose the secular party?
Well, I joined Yesh Atid because I grew up in a modern Orthodox Jewish family, and my parents always told me, try to relate, try to be with people that are not like you. Try to connect to people that are different from you. So I reached out to the Yesh Atid party, and for the last 6 years, since I left my post in education in the Ministry of Education, I'm part of the political party Yesh Atid, which brings together in the center of politics right-wing or left-wing, religious and non-religious people, all working for the good of Israel.
You're also a member of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, and it was one of the first things you did when you joined the Knesset. Why is it important to you to reach out to Bible-believing Christians around the world?
Well, it's almost like my answer to the other question, because I really believe in connections between people. I think Christians and Jews should work together for the good of the world and for the good of Israel. And I really believe we, the people of Israel, have something very unique about us. I mean, we bring the values of the Bible 3,000 years after. And I see this connection of people who believe in the Bible, who believe in Israel and in our country and are ready to work with us as something very essential for our young country.
Everyone here is focused on internal divides, but really outside of Israel, it's looking pretty scary. Iran's close to a nuclear weapon. They just made a deal with Saudi Arabia that China was involved in. We're seeing banks crumble and institutions, economy issues. How important is the new relationship between Jews and Christians when facing these new challenges?
I think it's very important, even crucial. I sit in the Committee of Foreign Affairs and Security in the Knesset. And I can tell you sometimes I come home and I tell my wife, I'm really, really concerned. I'm not sure I can sleep this night because I understand the big threats on Israel and on the safety of the world. And I think we have to work together here because Iran won't wait for us, and the economic situation won't be going better, I think, for the coming months. And I think if we don't put our strength together and work really strong on the welfare of the world and of Israel, we're in a big problem.
People say that the real solution is that the opposition and the coalition, the Knesset, come together and focus on these real threats. How likely is that to happen?
Look, it's a big thing. It's not easy to bring together opposition and coalition. I really believe we could overcome these challenges, but we have a lot to do. And the fact that people from out of Israel are telling us, come on, we believe in you, let's work together, and you work together, is something very strengthening for myself as a parliament member.
You come from a background of education. Education is always the future. What is the biggest challenge in education here in Israel today?
I think our education has stayed somewhere in the 19th century, and we have to take it to the 21st century. The values are the same values. The people, the set of mind is the same. Thing is, children have more challenges. There's more technology around. There's a lot of changes going on, and these young adults or youngsters are looking at the world and they're puzzled. And we, the grown-ups, should show them the path, show them the way. And I'm not sure we're doing a good enough work about it. We're not bringing the best educators to work with them. We're not giving them a good enough curriculum. These are big changes I'm working on actually these days.
It's the 75th anniversary of Israel coming up, and there are many groups coming, organizations, people are going to be on the ground. What does the Knesset have in store for the 75th anniversary?
Look, we're going to celebrate the 75th anniversary in many events. And I really do pledge, I ask for people that are listening here, that are watching us, come and join us. I mean, the best thing you can do is either come physically to Israel or, join us from wherever you are, strengthen us, celebrate with us, because the Knesset is a place of all the people of Israel, and it's open to all the people of the world. And we really see our allies around the world helping us, overcoming our challenges and looking forward to the next 75 years. We do want to see a strong Israel, because a strong Israel is a very essential thing for the whole world.
Moshe, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Listen, we need you. We need you with us. We need you here in Israel. We need you helping from there. We need the allies of Israel working with our little country to strengthen it against all the enemies that are out there. And we believe we can together make a better world, a better country. Be with us.
Thank you, Moshe, for being on the show. And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Sam Grundwerg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Aliyah is the secret to the success of the modern State of Israel. Let's take a look at 4 different stories of people coming back home to Israel from around the world and see how they helped shape our great nation.
For 2,000 years, through some of the darkest chapters in history, the Jewish people have dreamt of returning home to the land of Israel. During the last century, this dream has become a reality. Millions of Jewish people from every corner of the earth have arrived in the land of their forefathers. They have brought to life Zechariah's prophecy, "I will return to Zion and dwell in Jerusalem." Many have landed on Israel's shores with little more than faith and hope in their hearts. But with the help of Karen Hayesod, they have built happy homes and successful lives. And some of these new arrivals have become the leaders and pioneers building the future of the Jewish state. Sofa Landver was born in Soviet Russia in 1949, just as the Cold War was taking its grip on the world. Any public display of Judaism could prove dangerous, but Landver was determined to reach the Jewish homeland and eventually arrive in Israel in 1979. She has since dedicated herself to public service, becoming a Knesset member in 1996. Landver is currently Minister of Aliyah and Integration, helping Jews across the world make their home in the Jewish state.
בשנת 79 הגעתי לכאן, נסגר מסך הברזל, אני זוכרת מה אני עברתי במדינה שלי. זה לא פשוט לעזוב בית ולהגיע למדינה ולהתחיל את הצעדים הראשונים ולהתקדם יחד עם משפחה, יחד עם חברים, ללמוד שפה. אבל כל בן אדם עובר את זה, ולפחות רק כאן הוא מרגיש זה הבית.
Michael Oren grew up in the freedom of New York, but he too felt the burning desire to return home to Israel, emigrating alone in 1979. Despite having no family in Israel, he fought as a paratrooper during the 1982 Lebanon War. Oren then built a glittering academic career, becoming one of Israel's leading thinkers, commentators, and authors. His prominence led Oren's appointment as Israel's ambassador to the United States in 2009, Israel's most important diplomat. Oren continues to guide Israel's future as a member of parliament today.
Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people. We need to band together to assist those who are the neediest, help absorb those who want to move to the State of Israel to be repatriated to their ancestral homeland, and the integration process for them will be challenging. And today I'm immensely proud to be part of that continuing epic story of your involvement, of our involvement in making the Zionist dream not just a reality, but a shining reality.
Another Israeli ambassador to return to their country of birth is Belenish Zavadia. Zavadia was rescued from a remote village as a young child, arriving in Israel with no family, facing a strange new life all alone. Having graduated Hebrew University, she embarked on a diplomatic career. Zavadia has served the country across the world and incredibly returned to Ethiopia as Israel's ambassador in 2012.
הייתה לי הרגשה מעורבת. מצד אחד אני עוזבת את המשפחה שלי באתיופיה כי באתי לבד. ובצד שני כל הזמן אבא שלנו והמשפחה שלי, כל הדורות חלמו להגיע לארץ ישראל, למדינת ישראל, והחלום שלי הולך להתגשם. אני מכירה את קרן היסוד טוב מאוד, את העזרה שלהם, את התמיכה שלהם. הם מפעילים את אולפן הציון. משם למדתי את העברית הבסיסית. עם זה הלכתי לאוניברסיטה, עם זה עד עכשיו, זה מה שמשמש אותי. זה מה שבנה אותי.
From Russia, United States, and Ethiopia, Sofa Landver, Michael Oren, and Belenish Zavadia represent a true ingathering of the exiles, as envisaged in scriptures. Jeremiah's prophecy, "Your children will return to their borders," is happening before our eyes. And with your support, you can ensure that Keren Hayesod helps many more make the journey home to Israel, guaranteeing that the dream of 2,000 years continues.
Let's bless Israel together.
Now's the time for you to get involved. Assist Keren Hayesod to raise the necessary funds in order to bring Jews yearning for their homeland back to Israel. Your donation can help fulfill the biblical prophecy today. To donate and get information, visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
And now, shining light from Israel.
On the west coast of Israel, between Tel Aviv and Haifa, lays the ancient port city of Caesarea. Water, water, water. But it's not the kind that you can drink. And that was an issue for the ancient people that lived here in Caesarea, or Caesarea, depending on who you ask. Today, the modern state of Israel boasts this beautiful beach where people come day in and day out to enjoy the blue waters and the ancient ruins of the Roman Empire. Welcome to the ancient aqueducts of Caesarea. Here there are 3 aqueducts. The original that was created by King Herod, a second set created by Emperor Hadrian, who came from Rome to see the eastern Judean part of his empire. Now, a third set of aqueducts, a low-level aqueducts, are here with us as well. Those were created later by the Byzantine Empire. These 3 aqueducts are still here today in great condition, and 2 of them over here still functioned for 1,200 years, bringing fresh water to the people, and in fact, 5 legions were responsible for creating them. You can see their etchings where they wanted people to know they wrote their names, and there's a big tile in the Israel Museum detailing 6 lines of people that were involved in this creation. It's very cool, and you can come over here and see if you can find some etchings yourself. This is Caesarea National Park, where there are pristine ruins all around us, but just about 6% are what excavators believe has already been brought to the surface, and some of those ruins are actually under the water. So this is a place where it's believed that Peter heard the voice of God telling him to welcome Gentiles and to journey with them to Caesarea. At the time, it was hostile here between Judeans and Gentiles, and this was considered to be somewhat of a turning point. So many of these excavations are so beautiful, and we're going to see even more of them. Come with us. Here in the park, there are a number of excavations, including the Hippodrome, where there were gladiator fights, circus performances, and an amphitheater, which is still used for performances until today. And a number of new excavations have been unveiled, including vaults and a mosaic floor and a Byzantine synagogue. In ancient Roman times, there were two impressive ports, one of them in what is today Gaza in the south, and the other right here in Caesarea. Now, just 2 years ago, shipwrecks were found underneath these waters, and on board were items that must have belonged to the people, including gems, rings, and even a batch of 1,700-year-old coins that were made of gold. Now, one of the major exports that were taken out of this place was grape product. The other export were Judean slaves that were brought in shackles via ship from here to Rome. Amongst the last sights that they saw were the aqueducts we visited on shore. After getting lost amongst the ruins, you can find yourself having a fine dining experience here in Caesarea with gelato and plates of spaghetti, you name it. This is a wonderful place. There's no shortage of activities to do here in Caesarea, whether you're shopping in the artisan craft markets, or you're eating in fine dining restaurants, or if you're learning how to snorkel or scuba dive under the water to see the ancient ruins. In addition to all of that, you can learn how to blow glass just like the ancient craftsmakers who come from this very region. On your next trip to Israel, make sure to come over to the ancient port city of Caesarea.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Rebecca Roberts.
And I'm Yochanan El Rom, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.